Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So I guess we're going to talk about Michigan, right? Kind of have to. Seems important. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about what almost happened, why it almost happened, and what it foreshadows. See, there are people in this country who are attempting to energize their base. And that's a thing. It's normal. It occurs every time there's an election. The problem is they're using rhetoric that is so divisive, so extreme in nature, that it's energizing people to do something else. And they've subjected the populace to this rhetoric for 4 years. For 4 years. This is what it leads to. This is what it leads to. And in my opinion, there are two people that hold a whole lot more responsibility for this than others. It's the president and the vice president. Because they refuse to commit to a peaceful transfer of power. See, when the average American hears that, I think that they're picturing that cool congratulatory phone call from the loser to the winner. And that committing to a peaceful transfer of power means that they're not going to go through legal battles. That's not the question. The question is, will you commit to a peaceful transfer of power? And the answer is no. They won't commit to it, so the answer is no. Avoiding the question doesn't mean anything. The answer is no, because they won't commit to it. That sends a message to go along with all of that rhetoric. Force is on the table. Here you go. The attempted snatch of a governor to spark it, to get that show on the road. And there's a lot of people who think that's a good idea. Yeah, okay. See, in the U.S., we've been insulated from it for so long. To a lot of people, that's just something that happens in movies or something that happens over there. It's not real. But see, I think a lot of Americans remember when it happened to contractors over there. Remember the footage? See, that's a pretty plausible outcome from these events. That's something that could have occurred. How would you feel when it's an American on American soil, on their knees, bag over their head, begging, and it's being done to them by another American? What's the reaction going to be? It's a very real possibility. And yeah, they failed this time, but they're allowed to. They're allowed to. They're allowed to hit and miss. Their opposition, those trying to stop them, they have to hit every single time, because it only takes once. It only takes once to cause things to spin out of control, to cause things to hit that point of no return. Because once it starts, it's really hard to stop, because the back and forth starts, and it's small little groups. We need to take a step back. And sadly, the person who can accomplish that step back the fastest is somebody who has shown for years that they don't actually have the ability to lead. They don't even understand that their statements are the cause of this. Yeah, that rhetoric started before this administration, but they certainly ratcheted it up. Trump ratcheted it up, pitted American against American for his own personal gain. And it's going to be him. If we want to walk this back in the next 30 days, and I strongly think it should be, it's got to be him. He has to come out and condemn this and commit to a peaceful transfer of power. Because if he doesn't, if he just comes out and condemns it, it doesn't mean anything. Because they'll take that as, oh, well, he had to say that for political reasons, but you notice he says force is still on the table. He has to commit to a peaceful transfer of power. He has to own this. Try to unite the country instead of divide. He can redeem his whole presidency by doing this. Because right now he set the stage with all of this rhetoric of Make America Great, apparently by undermining all of America's core principles. Everything that has helped this country. It's got to be him. Sadly, he's a man who has spent his entire administration defending the indefensible and refusing to condemn the things that need to be condemned. He has to commit to a peaceful transfer of power. or we may have another incident like this. We may have something else happen like this. And they might get it right. They might succeed. Nobody wants that. Nobody who's actually familiar with it wants that. And it's really hard to stop once it starts. The President of the United States has to come out and commit to a peaceful transfer of power. It's not a game. It's not a movie. That's where we're at. And where we're headed is into some very dark water. If you watch this channel long enough, you know I am not a fan of electoral politics. Voting is the least effective form of civic engagement. Trump has to lose in a landslide. I am not a partisan person. I'm not a Democrat. I have never said that a president could be the downfall of the country. I do not know if the U.S. will make it if the president is reelected, because he doesn't have the ability to clean up the mess he has created through his rhetoric. It is incredibly important that Trump lose. Big. And if you are part of the Trump administration, you have any influence, he has to commit to a peaceful transfer of power. He has to tone this down, and that's the way to do it. Send the message that force is off the table, because the message he is sending by refusing to commit to a peaceful transfer of power is that using force to seize or retain power is okay. People hear what he's not saying. This president hasn't made America great. He has brought it to its knees. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.